our channel. I'm your host Tommy, and we make videos about personal finance, investment strategies, and everything in between. If you'd like to get more updates, join our community of like-minded investors. Check out our newsletter, Discord, and Telegram channels. Links will be in the description below. On today's episode of the Bottomline Interview series, my guest started off his career as a game programmer, taught himself how to compound wealth by saving and investing, and now is a full-time finance YouTuber with over 70,000 subscribers. Kelvin, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Hey guys, I'm Kelvin. If you haven't subscribed to me, please subscribe to me.
It's nice to be out. So today's interview is focused around crypto specifically, and as we all know, crypto markets have been crushed recently. So we hope that this interview can help to address some of the fears, maybe concerns that crypto investors have out there. But we also go through some comparisons with the regular stock market. So Kelvin, let's start off with our experience with crypto. How did you start investing? Was it with Bitcoin? How did you learn to invest? Things like that.
So actually for crypto, it's nothing grand lah. I started around 2020 during the Bitcoin pump from 20,000 all the way to 40, 50,000. The reason I got in is just because I FOMO. There wasn't any real research done when I threw my money in. So I will consider that as a speculative trade. But over time in 2021, I started researching more about Bitcoin because that was one of the hottest thing that was taught about that year. Like countries were adopting Bitcoin, companies were adopting Bitcoin. So when I do my research, I found that it really has some merit to Bitcoin, and it's not just a worthless asset like what many people think, like what Warren Buffett thinks. Like for example, like third world countries, the effect is much greater. For example, it hedged against inflation because their currency are like growing at a few 100% a year. Other than that, it also allows you to transfer money very quickly and a very low fee. So I think Bitcoin, it does have some potential to sort of replace fiat currency, but probably not replace entirely lah. So yeah, those are some of the benefits of crypto.
Right, yeah. I agree actually. So a lot of people on the crypto community have either very extreme views, like either crypto is the future or crypto is actually complete garbage and it's worthless. And I think the answer is obviously somewhere in the middle, but towards which side it's leaning to is where you need to do your own research and decide whether it's worthwhile as like an alternative transfer mechanism compared to fiat with all the heavy fees. And is crypto something that can be used in the future as some kind of capital for you to take on loans? Because I think that's where Bitcoin is actually moving towards. It's no longer like a digital gold, but more like pay some form of collateral. You can use Bitcoin to invest in other crypto projects, convert to ETH, and ETH can also be used as collateral for other projects. So yeah, that's like a general overview for our crypto journey. So moving on, let's compare crypto with stocks. So with stocks, right, it's quite straightforward. You can read the IPO prospectus, or you can read annual reports and earnings calls, things like that. There's like a set rule that, at least for US stocks, the SEC mandates that companies do certain things. They report using GAAP numbers. But with crypto, right, a new project can take many forms. Most of the time, people talk about what's their mission, what's their white paper, what's their tokenomics. These are the few metrics that people look at. How do you compare them? Is the research similar in terms of effort?
So I would say the research is very different. For company, what I would look at is the financials. For crypto, what I would look at instead is the community. The community is the most important part. So let's use Luna for example. I know that Luna already gone, but let's look at Luna for example. The reason Luna grew to such a big crypto was because of its community. The people who buy into Luna, the people who build projects on Luna, and the people who are talking about Luna. So all of this gives Luna value. So without all this, so right now no one has the confidence in Luna.
Right.
That's why Luna failed. You can say that the whole thing was triggered because of UST debagging, and because of that, people lost confidence in Luna. For it to even grow in the first place, there must be a community behind it. So same for Bitcoin. The reason is the top crypto right now that is because countries and companies are adopting it.
Right.
And that gives value to Bitcoin. And probably like Dogecoin, not many people are using it. They are mainly using it for pump and dump purpose, I would say.
Most transactions are not used in real world.
Right.
Not like, oh, I split a meal with you, let me send you some Doge. But that doesn't happen very often, is what you're saying. It's mostly speculation.
Speculation. So without any real use case for it, crypto will not be able to grow.
Right.
So yeah, that's the difference between stocks and crypto.
Okay. I can share my experience also. So I have invested a little bit in CRO before the debacle where they actually remove a lot of the rewards from tied to their debit card. So I think that's what Kelvin, you go back to your point about community. Like the reason why such a coin can have value is not because of the technology, but rather how many people are adopting. People are actually using the debit cards for day-to-day transactions because they prefer getting crypto back instead of, say, reward points from other alternative cards.
So I think just to add on, because of community, you can't value community. So that's why people say it's hard to value crypto. One good way to value crypto is by looking at the total value lot, which is basically the amount of money that's pouring into that crypto itself. So for example, Ethereum, if you go to a website called DeFi Llama, you can see that the total value lot is going up because more and more projects are building onto Ethereum. For example, like the game Axie Infinity, some crypto exchange.
Even layer 2 solutions, right? Like Polygon as well. I think those are counted as TVL for Ethereum.
Yeah,
because
so
the layer 2s are also
all this
built.
contributes to the value of the crypto lah. And if you look at Luna, the TVL has dropped drastically because people are pulling money out of it. So I would say that if you want to value crypto, don't look at the price, look at the TVL instead. It's a much more accurate representation of the value.
I'm not experienced with this, but I know there are like growing numbers of different metrics, what they call on-chain analytics, where they're trying to basically come out with the equivalent of a PE ratio but for crypto. So maybe TVL divided by the market cap is one example, as a way to know, okay, it's relatively undervalued. But the problem with that is, at least with stocks, right, companies will give guidance. So they'll say, okay, next year we're going to make 20% growth on revenue. And the guidance, if it's very similar to what other analysts say, you maybe have some level of confidence that you won't stray too far. Say 20% is not going to be like 2%.
Right.
Unless something major happen, like geopolitical issue or maybe the law change.
Right.
But with crypto, there's no such thing as a forward guidance. I think that's where it gets tricky as a crypto investor. So then you have to source the information yourself. It's actually like harder in that sense to figure out where's the TVL going to go for this coin. Yeah. Let's move on to like NFTs. So obviously there was you can say it's a boom and bust, right? Where like everybody was basically doing all the degenerate stuff and buying all kinds of NFTs for a moment there, and then the inevitable crash. And kind of like everyone kind of saw it happening, but nobody can time it, right? So, but do you think that in the long term, NFTs have relevance in terms of art, real estate, other forms of digital assets? And I know like you were a game programmer before, right? And a lot of MMORPGs actually have been using digital assets that have real world value for a long time, like EVE Online and even like gold trading or World of Warcraft, things like that. So where do you see NFTs coming in? Do you think they can have a coexist with traditional digital assets, if you will? So
the thing about NFT right now is that it's almost entirely a cash grab, like the Bot Apes Cloud, the Irene DAO.
Right.
I would say
there are lots of them.
Yeah, you can say that it has a lot of it unlocks a lot of club membership or whatever. But if they are that good, the price would have crashed so much. So right now, people are just using NFT as a form of speculation, right? But going forward, I would say that it really has real world use lah. So one very easy example is in games where you can exchange items, sell items to another player that maybe you have farmed it. Like imagine World of Warcraft, you can after you have farmed for that sword, you can sell the sword to another guy. That will make it much more valuable, and people probably would not sort of waste their time playing the game in a way, because in the end you can that thing onto another person. So outside of the game sector, there are a lot of use cases for NFTs. For example, your NRIC, because it can be validated. So you can just maybe scan the blockchain or whatever. Or another example, house ownership. So if you want to pass this house to another guy, you can just sort of sell the NFT to the other person.
Right.
And this NFT will have value and it proves your ownership of the whole thing. So I think NFT do have a place to play in the future. But right now, I would say that it's just experimental phase. So that's why we see all these fluctuations going on.
Right. I think NFTs need to figure out so an NFT usually exists in one single blockchain. I think it's not figured out like how are we going to how it can be interoperable. Let's say between Ethereum and Cardano, for example. So how would you, if you put your will or your title deed or your NRIC on one blockchain, how can you be sure that it will work in other blockchains as well? I think that becomes a bit trickier and it becomes more of a technical problem now. What if it exists in both and then one of them has an earlier timestamp than the previous one? So which one is it? Like how do we resolve assets like that? But I think those things can be solved. There are technical challenges that a lot of smart people are working on. That's my belief that a lot of talent actually move from the traditional economy, if you will, and are now interested in jobs in crypto. I noticed that among my own friends and colleagues as well. So there is interest in that. And so the talent is there, but it will probably take a lot of time for the industry to mature and NFTs to become part of our daily lives.
Right.
One other thing I want to add is I think NFTs are useful for liquidity provider tokens as well. So in the real world, right, you have a brokerage that controls the pool of stocks coming in and out, right? They have their order book and stuff like that. But then in decentralized finance, you are able to, in an uncensored manner, participate in that trading pair. So let's say between the ETH and BTC trading pair, or you can provide some liquidity by providing a mixture of both Ethereum and coin to that pool. And then what they give you is an NFT. Literally what they give you is this token, an NFT that says, hey, I own 0.0001% of this liquidity pool. So any fees that were charged when someone is doing an exchange pair comes to you. So to me, that's one of the interesting use cases for NFT. I'm sure we'll see a lot more in the decentralized finance space.
Yeah, we will see more real use case instead of just picture NFTs
just a picture,
and stuff.
just a GIF.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, Kelvin, let's talk a little bit about Web 3.0, Metaverse, and gaming, because I think these three are heavily linked together. So you mentioned that you played Axie Infinity and other like maybe play to earn types of games. Do you think the concept of having good mechanics, social aspect, and governance applies the same way to a normal game, to a Metaverse game?
So I would argue that normal game and an NFT game, there's almost no difference to it. It's just that NFT, there's more cash grab for the developers and the players. So NFT game obviously must be fun. I remember last year there was one game, the Neko Ino. It called itself an NFT game but in reality it's just a Ponzi scheme where you invite a friend and you earn 5% every day because you invite him. And if you add, so it's 5% every single day.
Right.
If the game is very good, everyone will be a millionaire by now. So which obviously wasn't. So the game collapsed, or rather the developer ran away.
Right.
So back to the question, NFT game obviously must be fun, but now that it has a real money tied to it, the game becomes more sort of investment rather than playing it for fun.
Right.
So I'll use Axie Infinity as an example. When I started last year, I found out, after playing a few times, I found out that the reason anyone will play the game is just because they wanted to earn money,
right,
and not because they find the game fun.
Right.
If I want a fun game, I would just play like Candy Crush or whatever.
Okay.
But the reason I'm playing Axie Infinity is just because I want to earn money.
I see.
So after a while, it becomes a chore trying to play the game every day. But of course, I think Axie Infinity is a very early definition of NFT games. There are much better games right now.
Okay.
And so going forward, I think that some probably successful games could be like MMORPG, where you can farm items and sell it off. Or maybe you have land, like what, this kind of stuff. So that's where NFT comes in.
So do you think that the ROI on your time for the games used to be a major criteria? Like you played Axie Infinity for 6 hours, you expect certain X amount of dollars, and because you don't get that anymore, it's no longer fun. So the earning potential is part of the fun with the game. And there will be NFT games that are fun just for the sake of it.
Okay, so I think some people will find it earning money fun lah. But if you ask me, I would prefer working at a real job because it gives higher pay than a game.
Right.
So you have to go back to the roots of playing a game. The purpose of playing a game is to have fun.
Yeah.
And if I have to earn my livelihood through playing a game, then it already becomes boring to me lah. Especially if I have to keep doing it every single day. Yeah. And if I like suck at the game, then I will not have enough money to buy my Caifan or whatever.
I think that's a good point actually, and it says that it tells you already that at the moment at least, NFTs have a limited audience. So for example, somebody who needs a stability, someone in their 40s who have a family, they'll still prefer to have a full-time job as their main source of income. They can't rely on NFTs to earn their money. Of course, this story might be a little bit different because we speak from a place of privilege. Maybe in other countries that may not be the case, and there are not enough good jobs out there. So NFTs provide an alternative. That's one argument you can make for it.
So maybe another argument is that, like you say, NFT games benefit the people from poorer countries where the currency exchange is much weaker, stronger, where the currency exchange benefit them more. Probably another one is where for students who are not earning money, right? Then this is a good side income for them while they are studying, because other than studying, you are playing games, so might as well earn money from it. But for people who have a real full-time job, like a programmer, you are working at a job 8 hours a day. You are coming back. You are not possibly going to work another 4 hours just to earn a few dollars. So then another thing about NFT games is that it's very sensitive to changes. So there are two changes. One is the currency, the crypto price change, where like the SLP for Axie Infinity, it has been dropping. So what, your earnings have been dropping every day. Then the other one is the game developer change. So probably like the meta that rebalance the entire game. And suddenly all of your items are worthless already.
Right.
So
and rebalancing is a very natural stage of games. Like it happens over years, right? Like actually it never ends. At least for MMORPGs, there are always class changes, mechanics changes over time. I mean, it's also difficult for the developer, I think, because now they have to consider the economy when they make a mechanic change. I just imagine myself now in the game industry where not only do I need to care about the game balance, but you care about who are the whales, who gets pissed off because we made this change and things like that. So it becomes a very challenging balancing act from everybody's side involved in the game.
So I think those are the challenges of NFT game now. And that's why I think NFT game, it comes and goes all the time lah. Like just for normal games, the longest running game is probably like Pokemon, World of Warcraft. And I would say that they have to keep coming up with new versions, otherwise the franchise will die off.
So actually the way I look at it is the NFT is like a fundraiser, right? The people who buy the tokens raise the funds initially for the game, like a Kickstarter. But then now they have to use that funds to effectively create new content so you can continue to grow or at least steal market share from other games, things like that. So what you are betting on if you are trying to invest in NFTs is whether that developer has the ability to use the capital allocated to create better content than their rivals and the other way to look at it is, if you just think the game is fun, then you don't take it too seriously. The game is like extra bonus income if you make some money on it. Otherwise, you just have fun.
And the thing about game developers is that they come and go all the time. Like in Singapore, I remember seeing when I was going for interview, I have this entire list of companies where I can submit my interview application. And just 5 years later, like almost half of their list are dead already. and I believe more will be dying every year or something. So it's just the big companies that will survive, or this kind of, I would say, cutthroat industry.
Right.
So that's why if you really want to invest in NFT games, I would say go for the bigger games so that you don't end up with a worthless piece of crypto in the end. Like I remember Microsoft buying Blizzard was because they wanted to build a Metaverse, which would translate to NFT games. Ubisoft, I think, is also going into that direction. And for Japan, Nintendo, I think they are also planning to launch their own Metaverse or NFT game.
Right.
So yeah, I would prefer to go play the bigger games rather than smaller games, which are going to die off quickly anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So the same rules apply. You would more likely play a AAA title, MMORPG, than some guy who made it by himself and all that. Not to say that there isn't great content out there, but I think you have to be like a lot more careful when you decide to put your money into a lesser known NFT or NFT game than the big players.
Yeah.
Let's move on to crypto's future. So I think this is something that everybody thinks about, especially when they look at their portfolio get crushed. I don't know, 60, 70, 80%. So for me personally, I think on-off ramps into the fiat currency and into the real world is the biggest challenge right now. It's not easy to explain crypto to everybody still, despite many years of trying to improve the user experience and things like that. What's your opinion about crypto's future? What does it need to become more well adopted and sort of complementary with the traditional finance?
I think to your point, right, crypto is not easily adopted. I could say the same thing for stocks. Like if you ask any APAT drinking coffee at the coffee shop now, I would bet that like 90% of them don't know how to even buy stocks.
Right.
So they end up buying Singapore pools. So for crypto, it's the exact same thing. They don't know how to buy crypto. But I think it's just a very simple step. You just need to watch a YouTube tutorial video, which I have.
Links in the top right.
To learn how to buy crypto. But I think a bigger challenge, there are a few lah. So last year, 2021, Gemini had done a survey as to why people hadn't picked up crypto yet. There were three main reasons. The first one is lack of knowledge and understanding. Like even Warren Buffett, Gogo, is not advocating for crypto. And if you are a person who listens to him, you will likely not pick up crypto already. Second, market is too volatile. Not many people have the stomach to see their portfolio go down by 50% in 1 week alone, or even go to zero like Luna. So for those people who like very stable kind of investments, they will definitely avoid crypto altogether. Especially right now when crypto is still at its experimental phase. Everyone is still trying to see what crypto can do. So unless this kind of thing improves, like Bitcoin, I know that last time Bitcoin used to drop like 80-90% over a few weeks, but now Bitcoin is much less volatile, and going forward, when more people buy and hold Bitcoin will be even less volatile. So I would expect adoption to increase later on. But for now, it's still very shaky. Then the third reason is lack of regulation. Like Luna, everyone was we want crypto because we don't want anyone to control our crypto. Then when Luna crashed, like, oh, who is going to save us? Let's throw in some regulation. We need some FDIC insurance to it. So even though people don't want crypto to be regulated, I think crypto it really needs regulation. Otherwise, people are going to get scammed and encounter losses almost every week. That was a statistic.
I agree. Actually, also to that point, right? One bad NFT game creates a bad reputation for the general market. Correct. So regulation is actually good for the companies that are actually good, because you don't get your reputation spoiled by some bad players. You get rug pulled here and there. You can sort of, like, a reputation is very easy to, I can't remember the saying, but basically it takes like 20 years or something to build your reputation, right? It takes only 5 minutes to throw that away. Something like that. That's the same. So I think the same thing applies here. we want regulation so that that doesn't happen to the market. You throw away the reputation and then it takes another 20 years to build back up. That's not what we want. And actually there's a risk if you want to invest in crypto. Can the regulation come in a time so that investors are protected in a sense?
Yeah. So I would say it's a compromise. You want regulation but probably not too tight. Because in the end, crypto is still about decentralization or whatever. Yeah. And right now you have to depend on yourself to keep your own self safe by doing your own due diligence. But definitely some regulations will be useful. Yeah. Like to start projects, maybe you need some qualifications or whatever to start.
Yeah, I think it depends on the use case. So I agree. So when the use case is quite straightforward, this is a service or this is a fun thing they're providing to the public, it's a game, then it should be regulated the same way other games are. But if the purpose of that token is actually to be uncensorable, then it becomes very tricky because like philosophically, the whole point of crypto is that it's unregulated. And nobody can say, I can't transfer from A to B this amount of value. I think that's where it gets very tricky, and maybe crypto might be continue to split into two different communities: the very purist kind, and then the kind that want to work together with the authorities in a way. Yeah.
Even if you ignore regulation, at the very least, the crypto project needs to be authenticated in a way. I know that for Cardano, in the future, they will be requiring projects to be verified before they are listed. So probably that will help investors. All of these challenges right now are preventing people from adopting crypto.
So do you think crypto has a place to complement a portfolio for someone who's like, let's say, have a 10, 20, 25 year kind of investing horizon? Or do you think it's better to stay away until we have more visibility on how these regulations will kick in and out? Like if you were starting out now, would you hold off or would you put a small percentage of your portfolio in crypto?
I would say it depends. It's like chicken rice. Do you want soup with it or without soup? That's no right or wrong.
Right.
With soup, probably it tastes better. So for crypto, with it, you might probably get a higher return, but you risk losing the entire part of it if you're not careful. But even without crypto, I would still say that the portfolio can do well. So it just depends what kind of return are you looking for.
Right.
So I'll just speak for myself. I like crypto because I'm from the tech industry. So I believe that crypto do have a place to play in my own portfolio. So my strategy is just to invest in the top few cryptos like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano and Solana. Those are just the few which I'm willing to place my bet on. All the rest I will ignore. Yeah, because I can't handle that kind of volatility. If I like volatility, Tesla is already there for me. So
actually for me, I'm similar to you. I only invest in like the major coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum. But the reason is not so much about volatility, but rather like the search time required to understand the volatility in other coins. Because there's always a story behind volatility, right? You don't go, why did it crash 60% overnight? It's not unlikely that it's just because of algorithmic trading. Usually it's not that big. So requiring the time to research why does this coin behave this way is very time consuming, and I just think that there's a bigger ROI to research a stock, for example. So I know that I can read through an annual report within X number of hours, but I can't do that necessarily with an arbitrary coin because it depends. Each coin is different, and then maybe some takes longer than the other.
Yeah, and different people will show different coins, and each of them have their own story. So, like, which coin are you going to look at? Luna is dead. Dogecoin is dead also. Shiba Inu is dead.
Yeah.
Right, and tomorrow there will definitely be another new coin. Just look at coin market cap.
Yeah.
Coins get listed every single day. So I don't have the time to look at every single coin. So I will just stick to the ones that are the top because they have more value in terms of probably total value locked and community. So yeah, they are the safer bets for me.
So in conclusion, we think that I'll sort of paraphrase what we have in conclusion. We think that for crypto to have more adoption, there needs to be more regulation. So maybe when a new coin gets listed, certain kind of requirements like an IPO prospectus in place will help prevent a lot of dubious, maybe cash grabs, like you say, or rug pulls in the future. And that will make crypto a lot more investable, I think. So I'll be looking out for news that brings on that for me to allocate a bigger proportion of my portfolio to crypto. So at the moment, I'll cap it at a small percentage, and I may increase it if I hear news about that kind of regulation kicking in. What do you think?
Actually, prospectus is quite similar to a white paper. I don't think it will help that much. I don't know, for
what
regulation...
about the reporting? Like, do you think reporting that makes more sense? So like for companies, US companies, they have GAAP accounting practices. How do crypto companies, can they report their earnings? Like how are they minting their coins? How are they distributing it to either private shareholders, public shareholders, and maybe another allocation to maybe funding new projects, that kind of thing. I think they do, some projects do expose what is their pie chart of the capital allocation, but maybe building that into law will change things.
Okay, so that will help, but I don't know, like, will it turn it back into a normal company instead?
I think that's the risk. So how far do you, if you regulate it too much, will crypto even have any differentiating factor as a concern? So
yeah, so
it
just becomes a company that's distributing crypto,
right,
as their main business. So I don't know. I can't envision how a regulation for crypto would look like. I will let the experts deal with it.
I mean, I think the experts should come from the crypto community themselves.
Yeah.
So maybe given enough time and voting power, they can come in and be part of that regulatory body. But then that's like the biggest problem, right? Government regulation can destroy that just in a moment. So it's back to, are you willing to take that risk? There is a background risk that all crypto investors have to accept if you are chasing a certain double, triple digit kind of return. So for me, if you are not that big of a hurry to make such kind of returns, then it actually makes more sense to stay invested in the stock market. Do you agree?
Actually, I say that if government regulations ever do come in, it will be very rare to ever see that kind of double, triple digits anymore.
Okay.
Simply because it's much more safe, and because it's much more safe, it's less riskier, and hence the returns will be much lower already. Right. So regulations are good. Personally, I like a bit of regulations, but not too much. It's too much.
Is it mainly because you want crypto to be a different product?
Yeah, a different product. A different product. Yeah, correct.
So in conclusion, for people who have invested in crypto in recent times and are feeling the pain right now, we hope that this information can provide you with some insights and maybe help you to weigh your decisions in the future. What are you looking out for crypto to be adopted? So instead of being disheartened, I think it makes more sense to continue learning whether the market is going up or down, because there's always an opportunity for that.
Yeah, buy the dip.
Exactly. So thanks, Kelvin, for your time. It was really fun chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, see you guys. Bye.
Bye. So outside of the game sector, I think there are some merits to NFT. For example, your NRIC, because it's not easy to... Yeah.
Pause.
Sorry.